Let's begin.
For this video, I'm going to show you guys how I would do a rough mix on a vocal. I'm going to use my song Extreme with the bass jackers using the vocals of Sydney Tipton.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
Now here below I have the instrumental. And up here, just to fill things in, I have this vocal effect. So let's focus on the vocal. It's completely dry right now. And the first thing that we want to do is check and see if any sections are noticeably lower in volume than others. We're just going to do some basic volume automation now to even things out. And that way, later in the chain, when we get to the compressor, it'll have an easier time to do its job.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
Just a little bit less.
Something bright in those dark eyes.
Okay, now over here.
Yep, just please don't apologize.
Gonna turn this up, do a crossfade.
Just please don't apologize.
Next, we're gonna use an equalizer. In this case, I'm using Pro Q2. Really what we're doing here is getting rid of any areas that are not important to a female vocal.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
Now once you start hearing it make a noticeable effect, you can still make dips and cuts, but you want to switch to a bell curve rather than a high-pass filter. That way you can stop frequencies from building up, but you're not cutting them entirely, which is sort of severe and unnatural sounding.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
So up here we've given it a little bit of air. All of this should feel pretty basic. Now the next thing that we're going to do is pull up a compressor, and in this case we're going to use the CLA2A. Now this is modeled after an optical compressor, which means that in the hardware version there was a little light bulb that lit up and it turned off based on the signal that was coming from the vocalist, and it would apply compression based on that. So the result is very smooth, and that's what we want here.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
So you see here we're getting about 3 to 5 decibels of gain reduction. That's fine. I'm a big fan of using multiple stages of compression, and the next one that we're going to use is called the Renaissance Vox.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
Now our Vox is a lot like the 2A. It's got no attack or release. It's amazing how much compression you can get with these guys and still be transparent. Now the first thing that we can do to dazzle things up is to add some reverb. I'm going to be using Ableton stock reverb. We're going to select the reverb and hit Command G to group it and put it in a chain. We're going to put the wet to 100%, and then we're going to create a new chain, and now we have reverb running in parallel. We'll call this one dry, and we'll call this one reverb.
'Cause you've got something bright in.
Next we'll add a ping pong delay, same idea. Put the wetness to 100%, turn the volume down a little bit.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
I like to add a pretty severe filter on the ping pong delay, and this is important to create distinction between your delay and your lead vocal. Now to make things just a little more sophisticated, we can add a compressor after the delay, and we can set the sidechain to be from the lead vocal, so that's getting out of the way of the lead vocal whenever she sings.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
And we can do the same thing on the reverb. Just copy it over. It's also a good idea to throw a high-pass filter on the reverb. And we can lower the wetness of the compressor to let some more reverb in.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
Now to get a little more magic out of vocals, I find there are some EQs that are just better at giving you a boost around the 7 to 10 kilohertz range, adding that sparkle. In this case, I'm going to be using the Pultec EQ, which is a universal audio thing, so it requires you to buy the equipment, but there are free versions out there. And I would also recommend the EQ called Equality. It also boosts high frequencies very well. Now for the Pultec, we're going to say that we're boosting the 12 kilohertz frequency, which is crazy, but given the bandwidth, a lot of other pleasant frequencies come with it. Now I'll overdo it so you hear the effect.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes. 'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
It adds a very natural, musical brightness to your vocal. Now, if you want to achieve a full sound, you're probably going to want to use doubles underneath your lead vocal. Doubles are just multiple recordings of the lead vocal that generally come in multiples of 2 or 4, so you can pan them evenly to the left and to the right side. They inevitably have slightly different timing than the lead vocal, and that can be especially problematic when the singer uses plosives like pa and ba. So we're going to tighten them up. We put them adjacent to the lead vocal, and we activate warp mode. We're going to turn the grid snap off so we're free to make tiny adjustments.
Got something bright in.
We can see that this gust sound is slightly off, so we'll shift that.
Got something bright in those dark eyes.
So we just keep on making warp points and shifting any transients that seem out of time.
Them bright in those dark eyes. Them bright in. 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 Something bright in those dark eyes.
And here, the word eyes could be more in time.
Eyes. Eyes. Those dark eyes.
Having all of your vocals on the same page with this level of detail can really do a lot for your mix. And next we have the harmonies. Harmonies are like doubles, but the singer is singing different notes that complement the lead vocal, kind of like a chord. This adds another level of fullness.
You've got something bright in those dark eyes.
So in conclusion, we started out with this.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
And we ended up with this.
'Cause you've got something bright in those dark eyes.
Not too bad. Hope you enjoyed. All the best.